a lot of people been trying to boost their immunity because of all the craziness in the world the last couple of years. And so, including yours truly, I've done the vitamin D3K2 supplement almost prophylactically since the very beginning of all this. And so I know about, the kind of calcium issue. And so I've kind of tried to keep an eye on that. But look, it's kind of which do you want? Do you want the immune boosting effects that come from boosting your vitamin D with K2, or are you going to be concerned about the calcium being deposited somewhere you don't want it to be? Like, there has to be some kind of a trade-off for people. How do you find that middle ground so you get the benefits of both worlds?
Absolutely. It's a really good question. So what I have people do is I have them take a few different things with that. So you have vitamin D, which is really a hormone, right? And
Yes.
then you have K2. So you're taking those two together. That's great. But then you have magnesium to block the to balance the overabsorption of calcium. So there you go, upgrade magnesium. You can do at least a few drops or maybe a dropper full of that with this, and then take B6 to help the utilization of magnesium. And from there, you can take boron to help the utilization of vitamin D. So is there a lot there? Yeah, for sure. But boron's super cool in that, and probably in the next couple of weeks we'll have upgraded boron ready too. So it's one of my favorite supplements because it's a brain supplement, and it's also particularly important for healthy testosterone levels in men, reducing sex binding globulin, which is always a mouthful. So, yeah.
So part of the issue, talking to lay people, that's my people who listen to my podcast and watch me on Instagram, it seems overwhelming. Well, if I have this, I need to add this, and then a little bit of this and a little bit of that. How do you streamline it so people don't have their heads spinning going, how am I ever going to remember that I need this much of this much of that? Is there, there's multivitamins. Are there multi-minerals that you can get them kind of all in one swell boop? Or what?
Totally. So I have two approaches there that I do, and one is ideology that we've trademarked, which is the phrase "test, don't guess."
Yes.
Truly, if you're just, and I've done a hair analysis for people like Ben Greenfield and reviewed that on his podcast. There's always something to optimize, no matter who you are. And it could just be that you're over supplementing something, or that you have a heavy metal from years ago.
Yes.
It's now becoming visible because now you're healthier. So, newsflash, we all have some heavy metals that we could be detoxing, all of us for sure. And minerals help push that out. So I'm actually more in favor by a huge margin of using mineral therapy to push out heavy metals, because that is chemically how the universe works. There is things like selenium and zinc that help push out mercury, silica that works with aluminum. People are gonna have to re-listen to this like 5 times for sure, but we're just like going through a lot really quick, and that's awesome. You can find more like this on our YouTube at Upgraded Formulas. But the thing that I guess that I want people to understand is that anytime you try to jolt the body in any sort of way, the body's not going to respond to that very well. So like forcing an IV with with chelation therapy in, that's a way to do it. It's just not a good way to do it. And you just see, it's super expensive and time consuming, to the point that just on the time consuming part, Jimmy, I personally would not do that. And I value my time way too much to go drive across town.
Yeah, well, it's more than that. It's more than that. Like the place I went to with the family member who did the chelation therapy, we had to go down to Hilton Head Island, which is like several hours, 4 or 5 hours for us in South Carolina. That was the closest one that would do chelation. And then we had to stay a week in a very expensive, it's a resort town. So we had to stay in this hotel that was $300-400 a night, and then we had to go to the clinic, which didn't take any insurance. You had to pay out of pocket, and it was, I don't even remember, but it was well over $1,000 every time you did the therapy, and you had to come like 4 or 5 times that week, so you couldn't go home and then drive back. No. And so yeah, by the time it was over, we're almost, thousands of dollars in the hole from all this, all in the hopes and dreams that, okay, now what? Now, is she okay now? Is this gonna be all right? And you just don't know. And yeah, that's part of the challenge of anything regarding health is, what's the best bang for your buck? Like, can we open up detoxification pathways? And it sounds to me what you're saying here is, yes, that's what minerals do. They kind of help that body. And then I go in an infrared sauna and stand in front of red light and ground in the backyard and meditate. And that also kind of helps make the body work, but it still needs those minerals to make the magic happen for the body to heal itself.
Absolutely. So grounding, red light, infrared, near infrared, coffee enemas. If you do all these, you go on walks, you break a sweat every day.
Right before we came on the air, I did and it's very cold here in South Carolina. I did a ice, or I guess cold shower. It felt like ice coming out of there because it was so cold for like 15 minutes. I just basically let it hit my brain. I like letting it hit my brain. And then, of course, the front part of my body where I'm trying to burn and mobilize brown fat. So, yeah. And so I'm just like, I'm so zen right now, dudes.
Love it. Love it. Yeah, that collar region of the neck, so much brown fat, front and back is great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome. The other, to go back to your question there for people, how else can you simplify this, right? Well, we've codified it by taking a hair analysis, making it really like just easy to use, I guess you could say, like videos, a nice kit that we ship all around the world so that people understand the map. Then they don't really understand it until they do a consultation. That's why we offer those too. And then at that point, we need minerals that really work. So that's what I use my chemical engineering background to focus on for the last 8 years. And then the company's been around for the last 6, is products like the ones Jimmy just showed here, if you guys caught that. So using nanotechnology to make the particle size small enough to get into the red blood cell without needing to be digested through our normal stomach sort of digestive process, so that if you picture your yard from childhood and you picture a basketball or a beach ball in the yard, that ball fits in the yard really easily. And that's what we want to do with these mineral particles into the blood cell, versus taking the yard and trying to put the yard inside the ball, which is really what we're trying to do with normal mineral particles. They're many times larger than a red blood cell, so of course they have to be digested. So at that point, we get about 20% or less absorbed, and that's food as well. About 20 to 30% of the nutrients that are actually present in our food get into our red blood cells, and then those distribute throughout our body and power our organs. So yeah, I mean, I look at most of the world's inefficiencies from an engineering standpoint as a delivery, as an inefficiency, as sort of problem to solve. So it doesn't matter if it's transportation around the city, which you could think of as, that loop around your city. Maybe you have multiple loops, similar to how your blood circulates throughout your body, how nutrients get dropped off and delivered, how toxins get redistributed if you're not going to the bathroom often enough. I mean, we talk about detox, but people that don't poop often enough and don't drink enough water, they're reabsorbing toxins. I mean, you can do all the other things. You can pay a lot of money for really expensive binders. You can do our hair testing, our minerals, and if you're backed up because you probably aren't backed up if you don't have a magnesium deficiency. The chances of you you probably have a magnesium deficiency, but the chances of you not going to the bathroom regularly are really low. It's just those things just always go together. So Yeah, there's just so much that this covers, and when it comes to bang for the buck, because of World's Elemental, this is the place I love to start people. I myself do other testing too, but I always do this test, and I do it every 60 to 90 days because it gives me the map.
Yes. It gives you the map of where you are at the moment, but also where you're headed, especially when you look at those tests cumulatively over time. Okay, I was low in boron the last time and magnesium. I've tried to shore that up. Let's see where I am now in that process. Okay, now I'm a little closer to sufficiency, so it means my thing is going well and everything. Maybe you had a stressful moment. Maybe you had other things that drained you of minerals at any given moment. You wouldn't know that unless you tested. So I love your trademarked, say the slogan one more time.
Test, don't guess.
Test, don't guess. I like that. That's really good. Very catchy, very memorable.
Yeah,
So one of the things that you sent to me as a topic idea, and I thought, okay, yeah, that's really good. And I want to kind of focus in on that, is all these people take these vitamins. And even when you get them from your food, if you're not getting adequate minerals with those vitamins, your body can't absorb them, your body can't do with them. And I suppose they just get excreted out because they'll get a little bit of the benefit, but not the full benefit. Make the argument for why people who are currently taking vitamins should be taking as much of an interest in their minerals as well.
mm, yeah. So think of that. Think of it. Maybe picture your spine and how all the way down the spine you have these vertebrae. And if all those vertebrae were little binding sites where minerals were needed to activate a pathway that you couldn't see, that is what minerals are doing. And then at that point, vitamins are able to really work because they're activated. And that the example there is boron and magnesium with vitamin D, um, which is so important. So we've seen vitamin D sales go just crazy. And
Yes.
and the thing that concerns me about that is that people aren't buying an equal amount of magnesium
Right.
because the calcium channel in the brain stays open too long when you have a lot of vitamin D. That hormone causes, it's just the chemistry of how cells work, just like the potential. So, yeah, it's really, I mean, can it lead to cell death in the brain? Yes, it can. So magnesium is the most important thing to be adding to your vitamin D stack, even more than K2 because K2, I mean, you need that for utilization, but you need magnesium for just protection. So I'd
So,
rather it just not even work as well, but be safe versus like have a chance of working well but being dangerous.
so
So
Barton, what I have never seen in any supplement that I've ever seen, and I've seen them all over the years, just as you have, I've never seen a vitamin D3, K2, magnesium, boron supplement.
never.
Why? Why?
I just haven't made one yet. I guess
Okay.
there's not
But
ending.
if what you're sharing here today is true, and I believe you, I think it is true. It seems to me that would be truly, to use the name of your company, that would truly be upgraded version of vitamin D. I guess the problem is it depends on the deficiency in the person. And so if they're really deficient in boron, maybe they need a little more, or magnesium, maybe they need a little more. Whereas if you're more sufficient, maybe you don't need as much. Like, I guess that would be the trick. But
Yeah.
it seems to me it would be interesting to see that formulation that would be tailored to who you are.
Yeah.
Functional medicine doctor could almost, like, that we have these pharmacies, that the compounding pharmacies, we could have a compounding vitamin company that could just customize for your profile based on your hair analysis and all the other tests that you have run. This is the formulation that's going to work for you.
Yeah, so and we essentially do that. If someone needs boron, we recommend it pretty much, and then we take all of our supplements and we tell people the dosage. So, Jimmy, you might need 1 dose a day of say magnesium or potassium. Someone else might need 8, and it's not
Right.
forever. For like 90 days, retest and then see your values again. I'm happy to put out a formula like that. I've been thinking about it for a while. There's several
Yeah.
other formulas we're working on right now, like mood. Our mood formula is going to be amazing. Um, We have a cramp formula for both men and women, but it really helps with things like painful period cramps, but also just like leg cramps, or quote unquote restless leg is what the pharmaceutical industry has called it. But